I see some familiar faces out there. How many have been to one of our panels before? There we go. All right, most of the room. That's pretty good. And how many is this your first time?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Very nice. Very nice.
Now they're pretty boring.
So we're here today to talk a little bit about Lost, and maybe a little bit more if you want to, but sitting by all of the people dressed up today, it's probably mostly Lost focus, and that's perfectly fine because Lost is a pretty awesome show. What do you think? So let's introduce who's going to be here talking today. First up is going to be Joe Opinionated, or Joe Opinionated. Joe Opinionated, everybody. Yeah. All the way from York, Pennsylvania, Jack Gladfelter. And all the way from San Diego, California, Jay Gladfelter. Woo! Oh, your mic's not on? Here, click it, turn on the mic. Now try it.
Hello.
Ooh, that's nice.
On.
Joe, you got a nice radio voice. I just noticed that.
Thank you, I've been practicing. I actually specifically didn't get drunk last night so I could talk to you.
That is true.
I did the opposite.
Yeah, that's true.
Joe was saying, I can't drink too much, I gotta save my voice, I gotta save it.
For my people, you know, my people. Give it up for people in costume. I mean, look at these darling.
There's a chance to get it over here.
Excellent commitment. We have season 3 Bad Jack beard over here.
Well, the thing is her beard is better than the one Jack wore in the TV show. That's impressive, very impressive. So basically how we go, we kind of just talk Lost, you know, we can have discussions, we can talk about different theories, some of the different things that has happened in the past year. David Lindelof has done a few interviews that have been somewhat controversial, but we can talk about those as well. But Joe, first, I think you have a couple things that you wanted to say.
Yes, for those who don't know me, my sort of online name is Joe Opinionated, but not Joe Opinionated. Joe Opinionated. My real name is Joe Garfine, and I had a Lost blog called Get Lost with Joe Opinionated for years that was sort of delved into theories. And I became friends with these guys, obviously the people who wrote and spoke about Lost. I guess we're friends.
I know.
We did a lot of the same events together. We were on the red carpet in Hawaii in season 6. It was amazing.
Yes, someone kicked sand on it.
Listen, I'm 5 feet tall, and they had a platform for all the actors, and I was sinking in the sand, so I kept having to jump up on stage, and I kept staying on the red carpet. So it just happens. But it was very kind of them to invite me here, and I hosted a panel with them for the finale party in Los Angeles in 2010. But
Was anybody there for that?
woo!
Okay, nice.
And so long story short, since then I've transitioned into being a freelance writer, and I'm here doing press, and I'm actually going to only be here for a half hour because I'm going to the Once Upon a Time press room, which I'm going to meet Emily DeRabin for the first time. So I figure you'll forgive me because I get to meet Claire. Let's do your Claire and baby. Let's do the Claire voice. Don't tell me how to raise my baby child. So I'm the co-founder of an organization called Cancer Gets Lost with the young man right here, Jared Wong. Raise your hand. And what we're doing is, you know, everyone there's still so much interest in this community, and we are trying to channel that and do some amazing charity work with it. So, long story short, a very good friend of mine has a brain tumor, and she's 33 years old, and I wanted to do something, and I have such an amazing opportunity with the reach from the Lost community and the Fringe community, Once Upon a Time community, and television at large, that we decided after the official Lost auction that wouldn't it be great if we had items that everyone in this room could afford, that were autographed, no offense to them, but they were autographed at price points for a poor economy and for people who are still interested in the show, and every cent of it is going to the National Brain Tumor Society. So we have been for 2 years working on this. We have magnets to hand you on the way out. It's a save the date, August 25th in Los Angeles. We are hosting a live webcast with the cast and crew of Lost. And that is coinciding with an online auction of over 100 items that have been autographed and generously donated. And we brought a few previews for here today, and we want to exclusively reveal that David Lindelof has donated furniture from the beach in Hawaii to Cancer Gets Lost specifically. And so we have 2 beach chairs and 3 or 4 tables? 3 tables. that were donated that were on the set the entire time, all 6 seasons. There were persons on
Awesome.
I just say, Dave Lindelof is an extremely generous person.
Yes, he is.
And so is Carlton. So just to give you an idea of some of the items we have, and then I'll actually hand it back over to you.
Keep going.
We have a complete Blu-ray box set of Lost that a lot of people probably already have, but we have almost the entire cast and crew has signed it. Everyone from Elizabeth Mitchell, Damon and Carlton, Michael Emerson, Michelle Rodriguez, Maggie Grace. Yes, Jane loves Maggie Grace. I love Elizabeth Mitchell, so we have fun with that. So we have literally been for 2 years going to other charity events where these people are appearing and asking them. They're very kind. And this is not filled yet. We have a couple more meetings coming up and a couple more opportunities to get it signed. We also can exclusively reveal here. We have, what's everyone's favorite episode of Lost?
Stranger.
That's not this. Yes, it is.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you wrote the wrong one.
Lockdown.
We have an autographed copy of The Constant. So far, it's been autographed by Damon and Carlton, and we may be able to acquire a few more.
Look at them drool.
Yeah. So, to give you an idea, we have items ranging starting at $4. We have autographed, greeting cards by Jorge Garcia. We have some larger items like the furniture and the scripts, but we wanted to make it a painless price point so that everyone had the opportunity to bid. It opens up in August. The website is cancergetslost.org. We're on Twitter and Facebook. End of the plug. Back to you.
That's awesome. It's a great thing. It's a great thing. I know Jeremy's working very, very hard.
One more thing, if you're in Los Angeles or you would like to fly in, we are hosting a live party on August 25th, and we've invited the cast and crew. It's after the webcast. We're going to be streaming online on August 25th. We rented out an art gallery in Los Angeles called Monk Space. We're going to have auction items on display in the gallery, free wine and beer, and you'll get limited edition Cancer Gets Lost bracelets, and tell everybody it's on the website.
Awesome. Very cool. All right, so it's been a little over 2 years since the end of Lost, but we're all still here, right? We all still have the bug. We all still love the show. So why don't we just open it up for some discussion about the show? Does anybody have any topics that they want to bring up that we can talk about today? Right here.
What's the biggest surprise guest you've had here overall 6 years?
The biggest surprise guest, Joe.
Just for this.
Surprise.
Just for the Lost podcast, I mean.
Oh, the Lost podcast? If it's a surprise, Jorge Garcia called our show the first 6 weeks into doing the show. And that's what kind of started our friendship with Jorge. So that was kind of the big surprise guest that we get that we didn't even ask to do. We just called into the show, into the listener line, and that's kind of how we started that relationship with Jorge. And then by extension, relationship with ABC, which let us do things like interview other actors and go to the Hawaii for the premiere of the last season,
Which was really cool.
and the finale party. And so like all of that being involved with ABC in any manner was from that first phone call that Jorge called us in our 6th episode back in 2005.
So he's the founder then, basically.
Yeah, he is definitely like, because we were just kind of doing it just for fun, and that was kind of the thing that, okay, this is real, we should actually, he made me want to be part of this, so.
Seriously.
So yeah, that was that. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, good job.
Woo! Anything else? Come on, we're all here, don't be shy.
Really?
I have a question. My name is Tom, and I've watched Lost forever, and I'm wondering if there's a movie coming, like from The Island, if there's any kind of movie coming up?
Well, I know, and we've all interviewed Damon, and what his kind of thoughts are on that is I think when they kind of closed out Lost, the TV show, that's when he that was his end in working on that show. But I think he's definitely been open since then for somebody else taking the reins and doing something within that mythology. So in terms of making a Lost movie, it's definitely possible. He definitely seemed open to it happening. But it's just up to somebody to actually take the reins.
It's owned by ABC Disney,
Yeah.
the rights to it. So, for all we know, in the 10-year anniversary of the finale, they could do either some kind of reunion special or do a spin-off. I mean, it's up to them, and Damon and Carlton will probably have any creativity involvement.
Mm-hmm. And didn't we here actually go to the Firefly 10th anniversary panel? It was amazing, wasn't it?
Can you imagine one for Lost, Hall H? It would need Hall H.
Camp out.
Yeah.
Camp out again.
Camp about again.
So yeah, ABC does own the rights, so it's kind of up to them and see what they want to do with it. I think they respect it though, so if they do decide to do a movie, I think everybody here would be very excited. But I don't think it would still be in the same world that Damon Carlton created. Just kind of be within that mythology.
You guys think we're all here, we're still talking about it. If people are talking about it 8 years from now, there'll be something.
We will
If
be.
they think they can make money, they're going to do it.
Yeah.
A good question.
Since this is kind of discussion, I kind of have a question off of his question, kind of, since we're all talking, we're all talking.
Yes.
Do you think, or would you want, kind of for everyone and for you guys, something, if they took New Direction, something like a reimagining, like Battlestar Galactica, or would people not want it touched at all because of the way it was closed up? I mean, a reunion is one thing, but
Yeah.
if they took it in a new direction.
Well, Joe, I'll start with you. What do you think?
I have very mixed feelings because it's like the wound is still open and fresh. It's been 2 years, and I feel like if it's in the right hands and the right creative team, it could be amazing. But it's hard. It's like we've just let go of our baby. Do we want to hand it over to someone else while it's in infancy?
Well, I know for me, I've been saying since the episode happened across the sea, which a lot of people hated.
Me too.
I want to see what happened before she got to the island. What set the whole thing in motion? Why she had to kill, the pregnant woman? Why she had to kill
You mean mother?
the mother? Yeah, why she had to kill mother? Why she had to do that? I'd like to know that. I don't want the other stuff touched. But before that happened, I'd be up for that.
Origin stories of the
Right,
island.
exactly.
Right.
Yeah, origin stories I think would be fun. I also think following Hurley and Ben
Walt.
Linus and Waltz, kind of going on with that story. I think there's a lot of stuff there. I mean, that I think would be kind of fun to watch. It's the island is that character, and I think as long as you have the character of the island, I think you could have an engaging program based around that.
And the island will always be there because Hawaii is awesome. Characters still exist.
Unless you push the donkey wheel, then it just
Right.
moves.
Exactly.
Right here.
Love hearing you guys debate different theories. It's one of my favorite things about listening to your show for so many years. Wondered, do you guys still debate any particular theories?
It's not much of a debate.
How about you pick one for us?
Well, okay, there's still a debate that Jack still somehow can continue and perpetuate.
It's not me.
through
It's not
time.
Rose again.
Yes.
Okay.
And for those that listen to our show for years know that Jack has had the theory of Rosa Bernard for Dharma for a long time. He thought
They're retired.
they were what would you say, like spies?
They were.
Spies on the island, and they were
It just fit.
they were moles, so
They're
to
mold.
speak.
Yeah,
And so he had this theory for a long time, and then everyone pretty much worked for Dharma at some point. So it was like, oh my gosh, this theory might actually come true.
Never did.
But someone sent in a great email. I wish I could remember the email who sent it. They actually laid out a case for the fact that when you go back and watch that scene where they said we retired. And they retired from Dharma, and I said, I didn't have to make the argument. They laid it out perfect. It was a great email.
Well, because they retired, but he said they actually, Rose Bernard worked for Dharma in the 70s, and they retired, and then that's why we didn't see them work for Dharma, but they were retired. So even though we know they didn't work for Dharma, and we've had it confirmed many times.
You can't prove it.
That's true.
You cannot say for a fact they didn't work for Dharma.
But that's what I love about the show. I know they give Damon a hard time about his writing style, but I love the fact that a lot of it's open to our own interpretation. We can kind of actively debate the different things that happen on that show. It answered a lot of stuff, and we look back, it's like, oh, they did answer quite a few of the questions, but the ones that left open are kind of those things that we can still discuss to this day.
The series was designed as a choose-your-own adventure. I mean, it sort of changed the television landscape in terms of the way it was written, presented, the way they negotiated the last 3 seasons on their own terms and ending it that way. I mean, Fringe is very, very lucky they're able to end it on their own terms, and thank goodness, it's going to be amazing. But I have 2 theories I'd like to talk about.
Okay, yeah, absolutely.
I have one that I wrote about that I still stand by, that we can't obviously prove anything, but in season 5 when we saw Faraday going back in time a lot, it sort of occurred to me that with the Looking Glass Station, Faraday went back in time and designed the computer for the song that Charlie would play, knowing that Charlie was a musician, he had met him, and I feel like Faraday went back and really designed that whole thing for what happened with Charlie. And I know it's a big controversy about Charlie could have swam out, but he felt like he had to sacrifice himself for Claire and Aaron to get off the island. So I feel like Faraday went back in time for that. And the second is that The smoke monster only flashed white on 2 people in 6 seasons, John Locke and Juliet Burke. And I think that Smokey spared Juliet when she was running with Kate, whatever, in the trees. Sorry, I'm clearly not a Kate Austin fan. I believe that Smoke Monster flashed Juliet and knew that her destiny was to Jughead and the hatch, and that she would be the one that would detonate the bomb that would change everything and have the conclusion of Lost be that was. Now, of course, when they wrote that in season 4, I seriously doubt they thought that's what they were doing. But I do contend that the smoke monster flashed Juliet and knew that that was her destiny, because the only other special person that the smoke monster did white was John Locke. And also Richard Alpert only went off island to recruit Locke and Juliet. Those 2 only.
Great theory.
So we'll see, or we won't, actually. I talk to myself a lot.
You never know. You never know.
You never know.
They can do a comic book. That'd be cool.
Maybe I will.
Maybe you will.
Maybe I will. Maybe I already am writing it.
Awesome. Is there any other theories out there that are kind of like those ones that are still?
I have one of your opinion though. You probably talked about it. You know how like what's his face? Desmond predicted that Claire would get off on I Love Baby. Can we talk about that? I think Charlie bit the dust for that.
My understanding of that is that the premonition was wrong because Kate and son were holding the baby, and it was just the wrong person got on the helicopter with the baby.
There was never a helicopter.
Well, the plane. They got
The freighter chopper.
Oh, the freighter chopper. But they also left the island in a plane.
Right.
So, plane, helicopter, they're pretty close.
I know a lot of people don't care about that.
Whatever,
They
people are
still
thinking about the
believe.
outrigger. I mean, you know, people are going to have their questions.
But that was a big one though. You lost the main character. You lost a character that everybody loved.
Right. And it was very bold in season 3 to kill off a beloved character like
Right.
that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure we all cheered up that.
I'm crying
Not as
right
much as
now.
when Juliet died like 6 times on screen. Yeah. If they dragged that out any longer.
Trees still lost.
Slow-mo, Juliet dying.
Did they have to redo that scene?
They did after, so the footage they shot in Hawaii was sent back to LA and it got lost in translation. And they literally got lost somewhere out there. Some fan or luggage person has that footage, or it just melted. But, so Elizabeth Mitchell was already on, like literally filming the pilot of V, and they had to fly her back from Vancouver to LA, and Sawyer and Josh Holloway. And they had to redo the scene where they're crying and she's dying in his arms. I mean, again. But she said it was really fun. So. Or it's like she said, and I quote, "His lips are really soft."
It's good to use chapstick, I guess.
Yeah.
Regular user. Cool. What's the next question? Right here.
Maybe you've talked about this, but I've never heard anybody talk about the fact that Christian Shepherd always had a suit and white shoes every time we see him, except for the 2 times he meets Locke. He's wearing dark, dusty boots. And so it shocked me in season 6 where the Man in Black claims that he was Christian Shepherd the whole time, when that seems like we're led to believe that's not true.
I don't think he was the whole time. There's just no.
You think it's Jacob when it's the white shoes and it's the Man in Black?
Yeah, I don't know, but I never agreed with that. That was kind of like a cop-out type thing where they said, okay, I was him the whole time. They could have been lying to him also.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, too. Yeah, that's the tough part, man. Like we said, oh, I was him the whole time. Like, how do you truly believe it? And the other thing, too, I mean, there's also debate on him actually being on the freighter before it blew up. And he couldn't leave the island. And also, Jack kind of seeing him when and again, he had the beard, so he could have just been really high and saw him.
He told Michael to go.
Yeah.
You can go now, Michael.
So-
How did he get on the
He's also
freighter?
wearing that khaki shirt
Right.
and the freighter, those are like that, and the 2
Yeah.
times he meets Locke, and the only times he doesn't wear the Christian Shepherd suit.
Yeah.
Jacob never turned into anybody else, though.
That's
So
true.
I like your theory about the white and the black, but Jacob never took the form of anybody
How
else.
do you know that?
They said it.
They said it.
They
I don't know.
Yeah,
They did confirm that.
Maybe, because there's ghosts on the island, right? And his body was there, supposedly. And possibly, maybe Jacob touched him when he was dead, and then had him as like a, zombie that he could use at his
Season 7.
convenience. That could work. That could work.
Let's say it does.
But I mean, it is a good point, right? And,
Why dress him differently?
Right.
yeah, why dress him differently? And it could have been just a random thing, right? It could have been. Or it does seem very specific at times that he was wearing lighter colors as opposed to darker colors. Maybe it was just even the topics that they were talking about. Maybe it was reflective of the mood of Man in Black as he was Christian Shepherd.
Or they did it so we keep talking about it.
Right.
So I think it really could go either way, but I am not 100% convinced it was Man in Black the whole time. I'm definitely kind of with that.
I don't agree with that. I agree with you.
It could have been a ghost.
Yeah.
I disagree with you both.
Right here?
Well, just my opinion, I think that's part of the time it was the Man in Black, and the other parts of the time it was island manifestation. Kind of like Ben's mom, you know, she didn't die on the island, but she appeared to him.
I could go with that.
I approve. It's good.
We need like a stamp, Joe, for you to like, Joe's seal of approval.
By the way, in the back of the room is John Bernstein. He does the Lost DVDs. Give it up for John Bernstein.
Whatever happened to Ben's childhood friend Annie?
That was Kate's mom. That's Kate's mom.
In your
We
head.
just never found that out.
The answer is they never got back to that
Yeah.
story. I mean, that's really the honest answer.
You can't say I'm wrong.
Right. I think they just never got back to that story, unfortunately.
There's another TV show.
Here we go. Boom.
Annie's Lost. On the CW.
Jared.
So after the incident, no one could, give birth successfully. So all the women, anything pregnant will die. How did the boars and all the rabbits and chickens and all that?
Are you asking how the animals reproduced after the incident? Great question.
Yeah.
No idea.
Like 30 years.
The electromagnetic pulses apparently did not, bother the animals. I have no idea.
Did we see baby boars?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
Dinner.
That's right. I don't know.
I mean, I guess it could be very specific to human birth, because like I said, the reproduction there is a bit more difficult, so they could conceive.
Right.
It's just the birthing process was couldn't make it all the way through.
In the man in charge video, it said like be careful make sure the polar bears were not pregnant because electromagnetism could interfere with the gestation and whatever.
This is why Jared's my charity partner. He knows more about Lost than I do.
Next question.
And maybe anyone who created the show. Next question.
Right here.
I heard Alan Gale one time after the show ended saying that the way things enveloped, even he wasn't sure at the end whether Whitmore was really a good guy or a bad guy. What do you guys think?
Evil.
I say that. I say he's a bad guy.
You know, that's what I think the thing about the show is that the bad and good guys, it wasn't 100%. But I think Whitmore is definitely kind of in his own best interest, it seemed like most of the time. And I think that generally aligned him with being bad as opposed to good. But I think
the freighter, Akimi.
Yeah. So I mean, he definitely was just out for whatever his best interest was, which was kind of more of a negative side of things. But I could see how in his head he could think he's kind of doing the right thing because it was taken from him.
The first 3 seasons, it was like, we thought that the main war was going to be between Whitmore and Ben.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, Jake with Men in Black. So it was really interesting. They did the black and white and they did the good and evil. And in the situation that Ben is good against Whitmore, it was very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that's what made it tough too, is like Whitmore's going against Ben. Ben is definitely on the bad side sometimes as well. So you could never really know who the good and bad was in that. And I think that's classic Lindelof, that kind of making you really have to think about what is good and what is bad, what is light and what is dark. And that was that kind of that overall theme throughout the entire show, which was a lot of fun. Absolutely.
Before you next, I'm sorry.
Well, there was a more concrete answer. They did a Time Talks Live with James Lindelof and Carlton Cuse before the finale, and they had been asked for that question, and whether or not Jacob really told Whitmore to go back to the island, and their answer was, well, if before the final season is over, you see a scene with Jacob and Whitmore, with Jacob telling Whitmore, then you'll know the answer to that question. So, yeah, I would say definitely bad. Jacob wasn't in the picture.
That's true.
Sure. Really quick, just because I have to leave soon. I actually want to give away a couple Lost bobbleheads here. So I have some qualifications. I would like to know who the youngest Lost fan in the room is. So if you're, how old are you, young lady? How old are you?
12.
Is there anyone younger than 10 in the room? Yeah, sorry, sir. May 12th, what's your birthday?
April 29th.
Princess Leia. Hurley, Alpert, or Faraday? So I'll show you. You can decide. Hurley. Hurley it is. Excellent choice. Okay, so the other two I want to give away for best costume. So everyone who's dressed up, please stand up for me. Nice, okay, yeah. This is going to be hard. The guy dressed as Jack here, his doppelganger is hilarious. It's hard because there's so many darker people, but I'm sorry, Jack's beard has to get one. You have to go back. You like Faraday or Alpert?
Faraday.
Faraday it is, okay. Alright. Now let's see for the last bobblehead. I have some guy liner here. I have Richard Alpert. Yes. Okay, first person to raise their hand, wait for it.
Wait till the question is finished to make
And
sure
tell me
that...
the name of the show that got canceled that allowed him to be a permanent person on Lost. He was on a show back there. Not Alcatraz. Kane is correct! Obscure. It lasted 3 episodes, so she gets the bobblehead. Excellent.
I like that.
There you go. Thank you for having me. I'm sorry I have to run. Let's start time.
Let's give Joe a round of applause. She is awesome. We're going to keep laughing until you leave, so let's keep going.
Jay wins for best hair. We try, but we just can't.
Every time Joe and I get together, we have a contest to see who has the longer hair. And I think this year I win, but I think she had me last time. All right, right back here.
You know how, like, once you're touched by Jacob, you can't die or something? Is that right? Then how does Locke commit suicide or get murdered by that?
Well, maybe, I guess, if you...
Well, he brought back to life, though, wasn't he? He should have died in that fall. We should have died in the fall, right? And Jacob, let him
well, it touched on
the nice guy Jacob let him push out the window.
Jason, you want to bounce off that?
Well, when they were in the sub and Slayer did the thing, they died. A few of them died because it was his choice.
Oh.
And so, yeah. Well, and so Saeed and Son Jin died.
Even Hurley, who was steward of the island, died eventually.
So
yeah.
So with Locke, I think he died. Well, Ben was able to kill him because Locke was already willing to kill himself.
Kind of opened it up, I guess. Yeah. I think, did you have something you want to say as well? Right here, sir? Did you just want to add something?
No.
No? Oh, okay.
It seems as though they...
No, I'm signing.
Okay. Oh, okay.
So you thought maybe I wanted something, but thank you very much.
Oh, okay. I mean, does that kind of answer the question? I mean, we had, and you right here.
Well, it was Man in Black.
It seems like they can't age, but maybe they can die of other causes.
I thought it was Man in Black couldn't kill him.
Candidates couldn't kill each other.
Right.
Well, what's the deal he made with Richard Alpert is that... Yeah, that was like his request.
Right.
Colleen, the back?
And then Jacob kind of released him. Remember how you let Kate go because she was going to become a mother? And he didn't want, he kind of excluded her from being a candidate. Maybe that's kind of law, and that's where he was allowed to kill himself.
Because I mean, the only one that kind of didn't age, and we saw didn't age, was Richard Alpert.
Yeah.
And yeah, he asked for it. It was a request as opposed to just him touching anybody, then they get that, I guess, undying ability. So, does that kind of answer the question?
I like her island done with you. You're done.
You're fine. Get out of here.
I need you to be a ghost.
Since you have a working relationship with Jorge Garcia, has he mentioned anything about what his post-Alcatraz plans are?
He is going to be guesting on a show that I think a few people here watch. I don't know if that's officially announced yet, so I'm not going to say anything. Was it announced?
Yeah, it was in Once Upon a Time.
Yeah, it was going to be on Once Upon a Time next season, which is pretty exciting. How do we watch Once Upon a Time? Do you guys? Has any? What's I guess the consensus on all of the Lost references? I mean, some people hate it. I think you hate it.
I don't hate it, but it's just like they knock you over the head with it. It's like, okay, one week the Apollo bar is like this. The next week the Apollo bar is like this. Okay, I saw it the first time. You don't have to keep whiskey. Yeah.
I love the McCutcheon whiskey. That's always fun to see.
It's like there's 8 dwarfs. 8's one of the numbers. I get some of them are kind of fun, but some are like, okay, I get it. Do your own thing. That's just my.
But my favorite post-Lost TV show with a Lost alumni of some sort has been Person of Interest. I love that show.
Great show. I love that show. If you're not watching it, just give it a try. It's a really good show.
Next topic or question? Right, Lynn?
When you guys are recording a podcast from like initial planning to the end, how long does it take you?
Okay.
About 20 minutes.
When we did the Lost podcast, how many people listen to the Lost podcast and used to download it? Okay, a few of us here. So we would do a show right after Lost would air. And so we'd watch the show, take about an hour to get ready right after the show ended. We would record pretty much live, we would edit as we went along, which was about another 2 hours for that. Putting artwork in, album, chapters, which is about another hour, exporting about another half hour, and be up generally around 3 to 4 a.m. That night. So all in all, usually 5 to 6 hours, just give or take, depending on how quickly the computer works.
That's a long time.
That's not too bad, but we got pretty good at it towards the end. Yeah. Thank you. Right here, Ghostbuster, I like it.
The Labrador, Vincent. What was Vincent doing the entire time he was off screen? That's what I want to know. Does Vincent hold the key to the island?
Vincent is the island.
He was a dog. I mean, I know a lot of people, that was the big thing over and over again, and I just kept saying, I just think he's a dog. I just think he's just part of the, at the end he was there and we all cried because he sat down by Jack and,
Yeah, but don't you think that was a very pertinent thing that he turned up right at the end? I mean, what are the odds, really?
I think to make us cry. I mean, I just think who wasn't crying when they saw that scene where Jack, was dying? I mean, if Jack would have died, we would have. Oh, that's too bad. Jack died. But Vincent came walking up there. It's like, oh God. I was crying. I'll be brave enough to admit that.
Who cried at the end? Yeah.
I cried. I mean, and I don't think I would have cried if Jack was just dying by himself. I'd been, oh, poor Jack. He hit a rough time. But when Vincent went down, it was just like, oh my God.
Because we had those connections there. I think it was really, I don't know, I mean, it could have been something that was actually a legitimate theory behind it, but it was almost just kind of that visual, artistic representation of that kind of storyline, right? Like, he saw Vincent when he opened his eye for the first time. So it was just kind of that poetic thing to have Vincent there as he died by his side. And it just it really helped kind of wrap up the entire show really, really well. So I don't think, and I think they'll have their hands ready because they have maybe other ideas about that, but it was just a really nice bookend to the entire series as a whole. I think here and then here, right here.
You guys may have talked about it on your show, but have you heard the theory that Jack is the new smoke monster that wants to stay on the island?
I have heard that. And again, that's something that would be pretty cool on Lost the Next Generation with what would you get Matt Hurley versus Jack? That'd be fun.
Would Matthew Fox do it though?
That's a whole other story.
Probably
CG Matthew Fox. That's awesome. Right here. Yes.
I was just going to add to the Vincent.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think it also just kind of tied into the whole Jack not dying alone because of his whole attachment to get that one.
Nice. I like that. Yeah, I remember we were going home, from the finale party, and we were sitting in the airport down the X, and I was like, oh, I'm Vincent. I just started breaking down tearing again, like the next day. And it was a very poetic end to the show, and that's the one scene that Matthew Fox knew the whole time is that would be kind of the last shot of the show, and I think it was really good. good. I think, you know, for some people, they kind of focus too much on the flash sideways, and it kind of ruins it all for them. But if you really look at that on-island storyline, I thought it was really fitting into the entire show and those characters' journeys. But I mean, overall, how many people were satisfied with the ending of Lost?
Wow.
Cool.
It's probably why
I guess we're all
still
still
here.
Yeah, it's 2 years later.
The haters are outside.
The first panel we did after the finale was maybe half the room after that.
It was ugly.
But I think over time, though, the show will stand the test of time for what it was able to do and what it was able to accomplish, the community that it developed. I mean, we're all here because of what that TV show started and the community that it built around it. That's what was really special about it.
I know when we did the rewatch, most of it held up. There was some of the episodes you like because you knew what was going to happen. You're like, oh, wait, what are they doing here? But I think most of it held up for the most part.
Way back here.
One scene that I love to watch over and over, and it's probably kind of morbid to say so, but I think the 2 best actors on the show were Ben and Locke, and the scene where Ben kills Locke. Right? But
I love that scene.
It's the best acting I've ever seen. I watch this over and over, and I can't wrap my head around this. So, you know, Locke's about, we've all seen it, so Locke's about to commit suicide. Ben comes in, talks him out of it. He listens to him. As soon as Locke says a couple things, Locke mentions Jin is still alive, and Ben's face changes. Later on, Locke mentions his name Eloise Hawking. Ben's face changes to an evil face, and then he kills Ben. I've always wondered, Ben kills Locke. Why do you guys think that is? Like, did Locke say something that made him want to kill him? I've always wondered.
Well, I think Locke's biggest mistake was he always talked too much. He did. He gave too much information to Ben, and Ben, you know, Ben's playing a game. Ben's trying to succeed, and when he mentioned those 2 names.
Well, I think he showed his cards, and I think Eloise was kind of that last big thing, because I think he knew that Eloise was their way to get back to the island. So Locke immediately lost his usefulness at that point. He got all the information he needed. So, you know, it's time to go Locke. And that, to me, like, out of the entire show, that is the part that still bugs me to this day, that was Locke's ending. Because I thought he was an awesome
He was just a guy.
And
he was never meant to be the leader.
And I never wanted him to be the leader, but I thought his story was really magical that first season.
It was a great story. He's a great character. But when people kept saying he's the leader, I go, you need to watch the flashbacks.
And I think
I'm telling you right now, he's not the leader.
And I mean, it's not. I just think he was, the way his story was in that first season. It was just such a great redeeming story that was all the redemption he got, and it was all kind of downhill from there. And I understand it was, and I think it also parallels to that first season when, you know, he said that Boone was the sacrifice the island demanded, and John Locke ended up becoming a sacrifice that the island demanded. And it was sad to see. I think it's just kind of one of those storylines where it's like that was all still tough for me. Over here.
Yeah, I just wanted to say the making of the podcast question reminded me that, for one thing, your podcast really made Lost a much more enjoyable experience. I mean, it was a good show already, but your commentary afterwards was one of the things I was looking forward to.
Awesome, thank you.
But the fact you guys went to the trouble of making a special AAC version with the stills and everything, so few people did that, and it's such a great feature that it's kind of gone to the wayside because no one's ever used it. But you know, you get to a point, you're talking about something, I look down my iPod and I see the photo that you guys are talking about. I just want to thank you for going into that.
That's all, Jay.
Because it was spectacular.
Yeah, I mean, that was, for those, I love that. I think when Steve Jobs unveiled GarageBand 2, it was the time and showed that you guys like, this is amazing, this is perfect for Lost, because we can put in pictures that people can see on the Easter eggs.
Yeah, whatever you gotta do.
And yeah, that was so cool, because that just made the medium, I think, that much better to utilize, because Lost, there's so much visual things. But at the same time, doing a video podcast for an hour, nobody wants to watch a video podcast for an hour. So it was nice. It was that nice in between of being able to show visuals, but at the same time being an audio program, and it was fun. And it was nice that GarageBand also had a camera clicker sound that I could plug in that too, which is what made it fun. But
I do remember someone sent an email saying they hated the camera clicker though.
Oh, really?
Yes, we were all asked the email about the camera clicker. I said.
It was great. It made driving safer because I knew when I needed to.
That was my intention.
Yeah.
That's good. Right here.
I was just wondering, I listened from Australia, and I was wondering if there was a certain event that spiked your listenership the most, like something that you did to promote it, or an episode or something that we just went?
No.
Like you just jumped like he?
Well, it was, I mean, honestly, it was pretty steady growth. It was like from where we started with 50 listeners and ended up with 100,000. And I guess the one, we kind of had a bit of a jump when Ryan and Jen decided to call it quits for a while back in the second season. There's a solid jump when we did the first video podcast that we did. And just generally, just over time, it just kept growing and kept growing and growing and growing. So there wasn't necessarily like a huge spike, it was just kind of consistent growth. It was just kind of word of mouth. We never really kind of hardcore promoted it. We just did the best show we possibly could do, tried to be a part of that community and kind of just make ourselves available to everybody. And, but yeah, it was just a consistent growth, and I think it was part of, we love the show, but also being able to interact with you guys and having phone calls in there. And honestly, like it made everything so worthwhile. All the late nights, everything, being able to do listener feedback with everybody.
I actually missed that. I was towards the end, I was complaining there was so many emails. I'm sitting around like, I have nothing to do. I love going back and forth. Even people that didn't agree. There'd be, some people didn't agree with me. So we go back and forth on theories and stuff like that. And it was fun when I was proven right. But it was even fun when I was proven wrong. They keep coming back. Of course, I would still go on with Rose and Bernard. I wouldn't let that die. But it was fun. It was just a blast. And I do I'd like to find that show again that has that community where I'm as interested as they are. Yeah. I just haven't found that yet.
And I think especially with Jack or Jackson, all media, he can never let go. So.
You ever go back and listen to any of the shows to see the evolution of how your podcast came? And was there any real funny moments you can share with us? I mean, some off-mic stuff or?
Just Jay being wrong all the time. You guys are that. I think my favorite episode, I keep saying this, I think it's the one that really got me into the podcast, was we did a Christmas special. Lost was on there, they were doing 2 weeks and then they were off for a month or whatever it was.
That was a 7-month or 7-week hiatus during Christmas for season 2. Remember that hiatus? It was brutal. So we had nothing to talk about, so we did a Christmas special.
And so we did a Christmas special, and we had different podcasters come on and do different stuff.
Little Christmas skits.
And I think it was the one time I just kind of cut loose and just wasn't worried about what people were going to think. I said, I don't care. I'm just going to start doing it, and we were laughing. There was other times we had to actually stop it a couple times. We just started laughing at our own stuff, which was kind of strange. But other than that,
Jack does it a lot. I was like, ha, so awesome.
I don't laugh at it. I just know. But I'd say overall, I think there's only one time in the whole 6 years doing it, whatever that I was mad at him before we recorded, and I went in there. If I could have punched him, I would have punched him. We were kind of fighting about something, and it carried over, and people noticed it.
That's not a fun.
Well, I'm not saying it's not a fun thing. That's the only time in the whole thing because people say, "Well, he's your son. How do you let him talk to you that way?" I go, because when I walk into the room, he's not my son. He's my partner, and I have to look at it. That's people. What do you call him? Let him call you Jack. And I go, it's just he's my partner. So overall, one bad experience.
A fun off-air experience recently was we did an interview with David Lindelof for our annual Autism Speaks podcast, and we called up, and he has his offices. And while we're on hold, they had some Disney artist on, and it was almost as bad as that "Call Me Maybe" song. And the second David picks up the phone, he's like, "I'm sorry for the awful music. We'll never hear that again."
Because we were trying to figure out who it was.
But I think most of the fun ones are always kind of when the mic was on. I think that's what we always had fun, was just turning on the mic and just talking about Lost. That was what made it fun.
Yeah, pretty much what you heard is what we recorded. That was it.
Why? What, are we under like a freighter? Oh, is this The Hobbit right now?
Wait, someone's turning the donkey wheel.
No. Pacific Rim? Okay. So stuff's blowing up right now. That's a good. The island's gonna move. Right over here. Yeah.
Did they ever explain what the Herbie bird was? Do you think it was wrong, making it go around?
Did they? In epilogue.
What's that, Jay?
In epilogue.
An epilogue?
It was an experiment. hybrid, you know.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So yeah, I guess they were making. Yeah. So yes, they're in the epilogue to the DVDs. They kind of answer the Hurley Bird. But I think overall it was just kind of one of those inside jokes that they kind of had throughout the show. That was fun. This is a crazy scene that's going on. The whole world is doing it. Right here.
Speaking of the epilogue, it seemed what they showed on the DVDs only, it seems so important what they did with Walt. Why didn't they save that for the DVDs? And all the haters were like tweeting it so much that they didn't go to the DVDs and go, oh, this is what happened with Walt. Instead of putting that in the actual finale. Why doesn't they do that?
You know what's weird? And going back to that that Times Talks that they had before the finale episode, and there's Damon Carlton kind of talking about the show. They said that the Walt thing would be answered. So I don't know if that was originally something they intended to have in that final episode. They said have time to get to it, and that's why they put it in the epilogue. But you're right, that was kind of one of those things they took a lot of heat for, not giving that answer. I think it was possible that they intended to have that there, but didn't have enough time, and that made it part of the epilogue. Or they always knew they filmed that epilogue pretty close to the finale of Lost, because Michael Emerson talked about that last episode.
It probably came out of time just because each episode took so much time to film, so they probably just ran out of time.
But I do think that makes it a perfect epilogue, though. It kind of just, it sets up, well, it kind of closes out the story, but also sets up the story continuing. It doesn't end. It keeps going without us seeing it happen. Yeah, you're right, they did take a lot of heat, but it's there in the epilogue.
It just seems so important. Why not just let the DVDs and
Good reason to buy the DVDs, I guess. Right here.
I know it's been like cropping in the works and stuff, but do you know any definitive plans for the Lost concert in Los Angeles?
No, does anybody know anything definitive plans?
There were tons of tweets about it, like Michael Giacchino and Damon Lindelof, and they were all like, they told us to send emails so that we have to go back concert thing. And, sorry, choking.
That's okay. You okay?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm fine. So yeah, I don't know.
I hope they do, because they did a concert in Hawaii, which was amazing.
Yeah, they were talking about doing one in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
So, like, if we can get the venue, if we can get the support, then we'll do it. But I don't know if they got the support for the venue.
Well, I would have to think they'd get the support.
Yeah.
I think maybe something with the 10th anniversary, they could make it kind of work. I think we're kind of in that lull after the show ended to where it's at now, where we're kind of just in that in-between to where it's going to become really cool again, you know what I mean? So I think maybe around that 10th anniversary, maybe they're just trying to kind of get that audience response to say, hey, we've got this many people excited about it. So it may just have to be something where enough people ask for it to then kind of get the backing to be able to do it. Because knowing both of them, I think it's something they'd love to do. Michael Giacchino is one of the nicest people you'll ever meet, and I think they're definitely down for it. It's just a matter of getting the support enough to make it happen. And I think we have time for one more question. And I think this gentleman's hand was up first.
Can you discuss the controversial interview that Carlton did? I don't know about that.
Oh, the Damon one?
Yeah.
What show was that for? It wasn't The Verge, right? Yeah, where the guy interviewing him thought they were. The guy that interviewed him, I don't think watched it or got it.
I think you missed the Christian line. I think it's Jack at the end, like you got the DVD that didn't have that in there.
And he asked him, so they all died, so I felt that was weird. And I will give Damon credit, you just see it in his eyes. I'm gonna murder you guys as he's looking.
It's a great thing, it was fun to watch.
But I feel like if you follow Damon on Twitter, if you listen to his guy, he's continuing having to defend kind of what his final statement was to Lost. And I think for some people that maybe didn't watch it as intently as all of us watched it, they don't get that The Flash Sideways was its own thing. It happened after everything happened on the island. And there was also, when they aired the finale, they showed the wreckage of the plane, which also led people to believe, oh, they were dead the whole time.
So that was ABC.
That was ABC. It was just kind of something they thought was nice to have at the end.
That was just the worst feeling.
Yeah.
To watch that after the end and just.
Yeah.
It was just like, what?
And they all said, hey, it wasn't us.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I think that's the big, and part of it also that, you know, he has said that there was parts that were in there that he kind of had to make up as he went along. There was the major components that were kind of known from the beginning, but when they started, there's no way they could have known all of the story that ended up in Lost.
Yeah, before they had an end date, they were stretching it. I mean, obviously, Nikki and Paulo, they're kind of stretching things out. But
there's some people that love that episode. We got one back there. But yeah, I think if you look, it's constantly having to defend kind of that idea that they were all dead the whole time, or whatever happened didn't matter. But it did. Everything happened, and that's kind of the.
Well, he talked about that last time we had a chance to interview him. He said, as long as it keeps people talking about the show, I'm okay with it. Because I said, how do you deal with these people? Because I don't know if you follow them on Twitter. They're kind of rude.
Yeah.
And he just handles it with kind of funny. Just hey, as long as they're talking about the show, that's what we intended when we started. So he's cool with it.
Yeah. All right. I think that's it. Thank you for everybody for coming out.